Last Sunday, Russia seized 3 Ukrainian ships after firing on them near the annexed Crimean Peninsula, threatening a dangerous escalation in the crisis between the two countries and prompting Kiev to put its forces on full combat alert. But to understand why this naval standoff is happening, let's talk some history. The annexation of Crimea by Russia 4 years ago was not unprecedented when you look at the peninsula's complicated and complex history with disputes between Russia and Ukraine, and perhaps even Turkey. The Russian Empire wrested Crimea from the Ottomans in 1783. The peninsula stamped itself in the hearts of the Russian aristocracy and would be used as a favorite summer destination for the imperialist tsars and an inspiration for Russian writers. Eventually, Crimea then became part of Ukraine after the fall of the Soviet Union. But behind all that history, another quarter would have his own taste of controlling the Crimea. The peninsula was conquered by the Ottoman Empire during the 15th century. The name Crimea itself came from the Tatars, Turkmen nationalists who occupied the disputed land before the Ottomans entered the peninsula. Many wars would be waged between the Russians and the Ottomans over the land in the ensuing years. In 1774, the Treaty of Kochek-Kainarji was signed, which gave Crimea its sovereignty, but under Russian influence, with the Ottomans retaining their religious sovereignty. But 9 years later, in 1783, the Russians would sweep Crimea into its empire. The Tatars would go on to stay on the peninsula, but Stalin expelled them in their tens of thousands in 1944 for standing with his Nazi enemies. Until today, Turkey still marks the 1944 tragic Tatar expulsion. But now a question has to be asked: why doesn't Turkey have any demand over the Crimea like its neighbors do? Turkish analysts say that the treaty does not allow for the independence of Crimea. It should not be annexed to a third party. Its independence from Ukraine and annexation by Russia, in Turkish eyes, are all violations of that treaty. So that's the brief history of the Crimea, a peninsula that has been and will be fought for ages to come, as it literally and figuratively sits in between the dreams of empires grappled between Ukraine and Russia, and perhaps even Turkey to an extent. Where does it all go from here? Let us know.